Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Pelican, built tough for all situations. Go to pelican.com. Yak Gadget, for all your fine kayak fishing accessory needs. Go to yakgadget.com. Eastport Marina, on the beautiful shores of Dale Hollow Lake. For all your lodging, kayaking, and fishing needs, go to eastport.info. Now let's get this show started.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Reel Down. Got another great show lined up. Just me tonight. Mr. Dan gave me the night off last week, so I'm letting him take a break this week, hang out with the family, hit a baseball practice, couple things like that. So yeah, we've this show isn't going to need much introduction at all. Right now, in particular, this guy's name is everywhere. He had a recent win. He had a more recent win, and he just dropped a kayak. Well, not officially. The kayak will be dropping when you're listening to this, so I guess it would be officially. But no reason for any other introduction, man. It's Drew Gregory. What's going on, man?
What's up, guys? Man, glad to be on the show. Always pumped to hang with you, buddy. We had a nice little run together. I love being on, kind of a coast to fill in for a little while. But, little girl came and life got in the way a little bit. So, but now I'm back at it and things are good, man.
Heck yeah. Well, and you're a busy guy. That's a question I've got for you a little bit later. That's a little bit off. It's kind of on and off of the tournament subject, but we'll get to that. But, so like I said, if you're at all involved in our corner of the fishing world, into kayak fishing, you know who this man is. But if they don't, give us a little introduction.
Sure. I've been kayak fishing since about 2004, fishing rivers and creeks since I was born, basically. But, fishing out of a kayak since 2004. And I don't know where to begin, man. I've done a lot. I've been blessed to do a lot. And I just am so passionate about, fishing for bass out of kayaks and specifically rivers and creeks, which is why a lot of people know me as Mr. River Bassin, since I started the River Bassin Tournament Trail and that sort of brand, which there's more to come on that front as well in the future, but save that for another podcast.
Nice.
But, and then I hosted Hooked on Wild Waters. A lot of people know my kayak designs with Jackson. I was with Jackson Kayak for 10 years, had a great run there, great time with them. And then recently moved over to Crescent Kayaks. And now, of course, like you mentioned, the first kayak is launched when you guys are listening to this. And actually today, the day we're recording, we actually launched the 3-minute promo video. And it's
which was awesome.
The Crescent Shoalie. So we may have a special guest to come in later to talk about that video. But yeah, the Crescent Shoalie is an amazing kayak, obviously named after the shoal bass here in Georgia, where I am at the moment, because we got a big party after launching this kayak tomorrow at the factory. So it kind of worked out nice that I was over there at Lewis Smith Lake and then just came right over here to Carrollton, Georgia, right across the border in Georgia. And family all came down and everyone's going to come see the factory, come see the boat and have a little shindig. So, but anyway, just love the sport, passionate about it. And most just excited that, the people that we're talking to, they're listening, are also super passionate about just being in God's beautiful creation and nature, catching these fish, doing things the right way and trying to grow the sport, the right way and with the right values and the right, character. I think that we all just kind of have in common. You don't see too many kayak anglers that come in here, not yet at least. And I know purses growing will change that in tournaments down the road potentially, but it's still just an amazing community that's changed a lot of people's lives for the better. And I'm just so glad that, God put me on this earth to be kind of, luckily, one of the first guys that kind of started part of the movement, if you will, Jimmy.
So. Oh yeah, no, it's no doubt. If for anybody coming into kayak fishing, or even the people that's been in it long enough, we all kind of started with the same names, and your name was definitely one of them. Everybody, when you first research it, Chad Hoover, Drew Gregory, yep. That's the first couple of names. Greg Blanchard's usually the first big YouTube that you found.
Jim Salmons. Yeah, was big. Jeff Little was early on.
Yeah.
Kayak Kevin. I mean, he was back in the day. Corey Ruth. I mean, names that the guys on the Susquehanna up there. Who all they? Juan. And anyway, but trying to drop
yeah.
as many names as I can to give credit. I mean, because they deserve credit. They're all part of, helping us get here. It's just crazy to see how my career evolved from, designing the kayaks with Jackson, to kind of take kayak fishing designs to another level. I think people would say, I mean, after all, I did, invent the idea of a high-low camp chair seat that you see on all the kayaks now. You can go look up the patent on that if you want to see it. But anyway, that was my idea that came on the original Kusa. And so I went from the designs, right, into the YouTube world, and then tournaments got big. And then I shifted now, which is why we're talking today, to the tournament stuff, because now that the media coverage is there, the purses are there, it just enticed me enough to say, I want to get into that. And since about 2019, I've been doing that stuff. So it's been a fun run, buddy.
Definitely. And it's been, these last couple of years have been fun seeing, because, like, even before I really get to talk to you, I would say that you were more of a personality, like, because you had the show and YouTube and stuff like that. And now being so immersed in the tournament world, I don't know. It makes you just, for most people, I would feel like it makes them more relatable. It makes you more relatable to them because they're like, oh, I fished that tournament with him,
Yeah.
Whereas like when I first came into this, I don't know, you seemed like Chad. People saw Chad on TV. You see Drew on TV. It's like you're a personality. It's just like when you get starstruck.
Yeah. No, you're right. And people say, like, oh, but he probably can't really fish tournaments or something. He's cool on YouTube in front of the camera, can do that, but he probably doesn't really know how to fish that much. I've heard that a lot. And then everyone's like, oh, okay. Maybe he does.
Well, now they'll shut up because part of the reason we're here is because, as you said, you're chasing these national trails. You've, hit the Angler of the Year marks and, really got your feet wet and made a name for yourself, which you already had, but further stamped your, yes, I am good at fishing and I can tournament fish. But this most recent one was the Bassmaster Kayak Series on Lewis Smith Lake here in Alabama. Awesome fishery. Show off the hardware.
For those who are watching this on the YouTubes, the video, Facebook, that's the way. That's what
I love that
like.
trophy.
There you go. It's a good trophy. It is. It's a really cool looking trophy. So,
like, I like some of the elaborate ones, and then that one just has like a really simple, clean, just classiness to it. I love it.
It really is. Yeah, it is.
Well, the first question before I'll let you dive into kind of about Smith Lake, but have you ever had any experience here? Have you fished this lake before for any reason?
No, I never have, which is kind of funny because I look back at a lot of my best finishes and it's really weird. So to me, the fun in tournament fishing, so I'm super competitive, but not like, I know I'm not like thinking about the other anglers competitive. I'm thinking about me versus the fish competitive. I mean, super competitive. Like, can I maximize the most weight or length, if you will, this lake? Can I pull that off? Right. Super competitive with myself. And I've looked back, and the joy to me is actually the research. And I mean, catching them on the tournament day is fun too, but it's probably more fun to me to all the build up to the tournament. Right. So I'd never been there, but I look back at all my best finishes, and what is crazy is, my win on Dardanelle at Hobie, never been there. Okay. Like second at the KBF National Championship out of 200 or out of 751 people in 2019, never been there. Caddo, where I fished, and Champlain, I was second, never been there. Grand Lake, just won on Bassmaster Kayak Series, never been there. Lewis Smith, never been there. All my best finishes. It's just funny, like how Lake Pickwick, your backyard, basically. Yeah. Never been there. And I tied for first with my buddy, Ken Morris, I do a podcast with. He won by a tiebreaker, but never been there. So to me, what I think is funny is, and again, it goes back to the experience I have traveling, doing Hooked on Wild Waters and fishing all over the country, because I think to be able to be, successful nationally, you have to be, obviously versatile and catching all the species, right? So this was a more of Alabama spotted bass, fishery. Caught those, plenty of places growing up in Georgia, got them, fished Alabama a good bit growing up, but I fished Ozarks, with Hooked on Wild Waters, and being out there many times with different trips I've made out there fishing. I've been all over the country is my point. So anywhere I go, once I started tournament fishing, I felt comfortable, whether it's largemouth, smallmouth, north, south, east, west, deep water, clear water, shoal bass, it doesn't matter. I felt comfortable. So anyway, to get to the true answer, yeah, I mean, I'd never fished Lewis Smith Lake, but I was still confident because I feel like I look at a lake that I've never fished before with a total
And you have
different
something to compare it to,
eyes.
probably.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then someone who's been there, they go, oh, I've caught him here, I've caught him there, but have they really ever looked at the tournament from the 30,000 foot view of, if I had to like really grind and study and figure this lake out, where are the spots I would go to? They're going to have the biggest fish. And I'm sure some people probably have, because they also fish tournaments there. But I mean, it's drilled down. I've got to drill it down to like, dude, you've got one day. These are one dayers, some of the Bassmaster ones. And I have a limited amount of pre-fishing time because I lost like a day, almost a whole day, because we were working on the release of this kayak. But so all my prep work and the map study and everything, I was just dead set on exactly where I caught these fish. I knew there was going to be big ones here. I knew it from, because I had lots of pins marked on this map and I just couldn't go check them all out. Couldn't fish them. Didn't have enough time.
And because Smith Lake is ginormous, and it has there's major backwater. Everybody knows you're a backwater guy.
Yeah.
There's tons of that goes for miles and miles. And of course, Bassmaster, has boundaries, etc. But Smith Lake's one of those lakes that when you look at it on a map, it can be very intimidating, especially when you don't, have, like you said, a lot of time to. I don't know. I mean, it has so much to break down that I feel like just finding, because it's for anybody that tournament fishes, most of us do this. When you find that one thing, you try to replicate it in multiple places. There is so much of that lake, you could still have 30 to 40 options, like so much of the same. Well, give us a quick rundown of what Smith Lake, what it is. You obviously said it's an Alabama spotted bass factory, but give us kind of a lay of the land of what it's like.
Yeah, sure. In my, I was talking on stage when I won the award and said, for all my biologist friends out there, I'm going to do you guys justice and call this fish what it is. It's the Alabama bass, because they did all the research and designated it separate from the spotted bass, which in hindsight, they probably should have left this one the spotted bass and then renamed the other ones. You know what I'm saying? Because everyone calls this one spotted bass forever. And the Bassmaster and the Major League Fishing, no one's changing it really. I mean, to calling it what it really is. But the Alabama bass is what it is. So I knew it was a deep, clear water, fishery like this. And like you said, there's so many miles of shoreline and so many river and creek arms. It's mountainous, you know what I mean, over there. It's just clean, clear water. A lot of not as so mountainous. I'm gonna give you guys a little tip here. Mountainous tributaries, which are most of these on this lake, they run clear and clean. When you have water that runs clear and clean, it doesn't have as many nutrients in it. And that's why this lake doesn't have a ton of, it's not like this is a grass lake, you know what I mean, where you got hydrilla and stuff like that. It's rocky. So anyway, my goal was to try to find some areas that had a little bit more nutrient rich water flowing into it. And possibly in hopes to find some largemouth too, you know what I mean? Because largemouth do want that murkier water. There's not much of that here at all. So they do get, bigger overall than, your Alabama bass. So I thought that was kind of my goal, to try to find that. And of course I I caught one big largemouth, but I definitely caught other largemouth in my tournament, which we'll get into, but it didn't really matter to me once I was there. I was just finding some of the best water I thought, and it had Alabama bass in there that were big and one good largemouth. See, that may not sound like a big deal, like, okay, he only had one largemouth on his 5-fish limit, but it's a huge deal. It was a 19.25-inch fish, and it's what caused me to win. It's a massive deal. The fact that I had water that at least some largemouth were living in too, also, because the majority of the whole lake is Alabama bass, right? There were some largemouth there. And the fact there were some, I obviously got fortunate and happened to catch one of probably the biggest ones in this area. And it changed, it caused me to win. So it mattered that I was in that nutrient rich water that had the ability to have largemouth. And then of course had one big kicker, Alabama bass too, which we'll get into all that, but it's a deep clear water reservoir, and my area was definitely different than all the rest. I mean, I would say it's pretty different.
And that's what for a lot of people will know this lake because it is a big player in the boat world. The elites hit it, MLF hit it, so it's very popular. If you know anything about it, everybody knows the point you're talking about. It is a very, very deep, very, very clear reservoir, and typically, the bags are Alabama bass, like you said, and having that approach that you had, like you hear it all the time if you recap or watch like Bass Live and Bass Track and stuff like that. You'll hear them say, I'm going to go find some largemouth. And that's what they mean by that for anybody that doesn't understand that. You can fill your limit on cookie cutter Alabama bass,
right,
and hope you run into a good one or a few good ones, or you have those backup areas like Drew's talking about where you've got a little bit of diversity, a little bit of different setup where the largemouth will stay. And that's how you kind of stand over everybody else in that kind of fishery.
That's right. And my largemouth probably weighed more. It was 19 1/4, but I bet you it weighed more than that Alabama bass. That was 19 3/4. So that's why those weight guys really need to find some places like that for sure. And I'm pretty sure, it's got bluebacks in it. It's a mini ocean. It does have bluebacks, right? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah.
Think about an ocean. It gets super deep and we're creating these artificial oceans. Therefore, there's not like a roaming bait fish like bluebacks naturally that just, when you dam up that goes creeks, you know what I mean? And the river, it's not just going to happen. So we put them in there, whoever did, I don't know whether it was Alabama Game and Fish or whatever you're called in that state, but someone did. And therefore the good news is it's utilizing that dead water that used to be on the open that bass didn't really utilize because there's no food out there. Now, at least we're utilizing all that. The only thing that I find interesting about this lake, and I'm a nerd on the biology, side of things, whatever, really studying the fish, the habitat, the environment. Like, why is the fish there? Not, they're on points, they're on wood, they're on rock, whatever, they're on, transitions. I'm a nerd to actually okay, but why? So anyway, the good thing about this lake is that blueback have given it, some artificial, what's the word? Andromedas, bait fish or whatever that just continue to swim in the middle. Something like that is the word. I'm not saying it right, but even still, here's what boggles me. These are Alabama bass. These are not northern strain Kentucky or you're just northern strain spotted bass, which are called Kentuckys. But anyway, they do not get as big as the Coosa River system Alabama bass. They just don't get as big. The weights, in other words, the weights on Logan Martin, all those other. Now, why? Why? Know why? Remember what I told you? The water's clear. It's not as fertile. It's not as nutritious for everything in the entire fishery. What's the Coosa? Stained. You know what I'm saying? There's grass in those
vegetation
fisheries, more vegetation. You got bigger largemouth over there. You get bigger Alabama bass. That's what I'm looking for. That difference right there. So where on this lake, that was my mindset. Where on this lake, guys, can I find the most nutritious water, fertile water that's coming into that? Which creek or river arm is it going to be that's got the most fertile water? And it may mean the fish in that little area are just a half-inch bigger on average or a quarter-inch, not even much, dude, at all. But it can make all the difference when you're adding 5 fish up. So, and I'm not saying that that's why it happened or how it happened, but that was just my logic,
Right. Well, we'll taking your logic, kind of get into your pre-fishing. Like you said, you were cut short a little bit because Lord knows you've got everything else in the world going on with the kayak and family and everything else. But get into your pre-fishing a little bit.
Man, this is the funniest story ever, dude. The pre-fishing, I roll up to this, like I said, I'm river bassing, so I roll up to the bridge. The first thing I do is I get out, I look at the water clarity, the current, do I see any bait fish? Do I see any fish? I mean, this is like the first afternoon I got there. It was, which is Wednesday, the first day of pre-fishing. We're allowed to fish Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday, we're done by 2. So essentially you got 2.5 days, a little bit more maybe. But I roll up to this bridge. I go over there and I see 2 Alabama bass and about 8 inches of water just cruising the sandy flat. And they're like 16, 17 inches. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I actually working on a prototype of a spinnerbait I developed, right? So I have one with me and I just said, all right, I just got to cast and, I crank it out there real fast, kind of hide behind the tree a little bit, chunk it out there and just rip it by. And one of them just takes off and just chokes it. And I bring it in, I measure it on my rod. It was like 16.5 inches. And the other one was about the same size. So I said, well, I don't really need to put my kayak in. I was like, because I'm a big studier. There's a lot of things I do, man. And this isn't like, again, it's not really what obviously causes you to win a tournament, but it's, for me, this is helpful. I look at what's been winning bass boat tournaments, right? The weight on this lake, Bass Nation had just had a tournament there. I'm not saying Bass Nation is the highest level of anglers out there, but a lot of good sticks, right? And, on the first day, somebody I think had 18, 19 pounds, a couple kicker largemouth. By the third day, there's 100 boats in this thing. I think the best bag was like 14 pounds.
Yeah.
Not like huge. And I'm equating that. And so I said to myself, you know what? So basically, if you can get somewhere around 15, 16 pounds, these fish sometimes it's post spawn. They're a little bit longer. Some of these, Alabama bass, I said, I need to hit 85 inches, 85 to 90. I need to get somewhere into 85 to 90 to be in cashing a check or winning. Obviously it depends if how many other people get that number, but I knew I needed 85 to 90. So why was that important for me to know that beforehand? It was important because when I caught that 16.5 inch fish, and I believe 5/16 is 80 inches. So if you take the half inch, if that was 16.5, you whatever, add on another, what was that? 2.5 inches.
82.5.
So
yeah.
82.5. I'm almost at 85, and I'm from the bank, and I saw it, and I caught this fish. Okay, so I'm like, surely there's bigger fish down a little bit further and on into the lake, because I'm pretty close to the lake here. It's True Creek, but I'm pretty close to the lake, So, okay, well, I go drive to another creek the next day. Same thing. I get out. I'm like, oh, this looks pretty good. Throw a cast in, catch one that was like almost 17 inches. Well, they're in this place too. Okay. So then I was like, I guess I'll put my kayak in and just kind of paddle around and look and not fish. I mean, I'm talking like I didn't even really need to put my kayak in other than to sort of confirm I could make it kind of down, because the water is really low, really clear. It's a little scrapey. You had to kind of confirm that. But, and just so by the way, you talked about Bassmaster, some of the tournaments have boundaries, some don't. But the good thing I think they're doing, and it's smart, is they're letting kayaks go where the kayaks can go. You know what I mean? Like, they're not putting any boundaries on that. They're starting to realize, hey, wait a second, we have the Elite Series, we have all this boat stuff. What makes the kayak different? Well, it's the fact that it can go in small water, but it also can go in big water. That's what's cool. And you got to go where the tournament's going to be won. And sometimes, I mean, I get this stereotype. Well, it's not a stereotype, whatever. I get this reputation for being a river guy, but hey, on Caddo, I was in the lake. When I got second out in 2019 to Mike Elsey in the national championship out on Grand Lake, I was in the lake. People think that, oh, he's always in a creek. Well, it's not true. I'm where the winning fish. I mean, I hope I am. I try to be where the winning fish are. And the kayak, the beauty of it is it can go anywhere. It can go shallow. It can go in the true rivers, creeks with rapids. It can go in the oxbows, in the backwaters, over vegetation, shallow that other places can't. It can go dock fishing on the bank. It can go offshore. It can do it all. And it's magical. That's our special sauce. And the Bassmaster's finally realizing that. And they're kind of stopping. Hey, we're not going to put boundaries on these guys, because if they can get there in the kayak, we want them to get there, because otherwise, why are we doing this? Why would we not just be in boats, right? So that's pretty cool. But anyway, that was the deal, dude. I just had to just make sure I could kind of get around in these
navigate,
in these waters. And once I realized that, I was like, well, I'm back at the house. I'm rigging up. I'm doing stuff with the new Shoalie. I'm getting it set up because it was a brand new boat I was in. It's actually a pre-production model I was fishing out of. Not quite production. It had a few little things that we had to tweak, but I didn't expect to win, because I still had never fished that. I just was shocked because the way it happened. If you want me to get into how it happened now, I can. But you have any other questions? The pre-fishing questions over? Or?
Well, it sounds like that your pre-fishing was pretty simple. You saw, you casted, you confirmed, you left. It was
it's
very,
true.
very, very basic on that.
Yeah, that's it. And I did go to another spot, another spot that was a pretty good area that I caught some nice ones out of, and I put the kayak in to get there. But then I just couldn't find a close way to get to that. Dude, there's not great access on that lake. I'm telling you that right now.
No,
it's not the greatest. It's really
that's why I don't ever go there.
No, it's not the greatest kayak, lake, honestly, because of that. But this spot was good. I caught fish there. This other spot I never went to in the tournament, and I was like, dude, it's going to take me too long to get here. And I'm just, I had my motor guide rigged up. I did rig it up on my off day on Friday, the last day of pre-fishing, just to kind of rig it up. And I put that mount on the front of the Shoalie. and it works great with our front handle being a gear track right there. And we have some inserts that are actually screwing the gear track in the front and the rear. So where our our new cam track handle goes is pretty cool. But anyway, I use those inserts to put my motor guide quick release bracket on there. And I said, well, I could get there with that. But see, it was so far away. I was like, that's not a wise move to commit to something to go so far, waste so much time. You better know there's a ton of fish there. And there was definitely fish there, but it wasn't a big area. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it's a huge gamble.
It was a waste of time. It was going to be a waste of time. So I was like, you know what? I can't even find a way to get there. So that was about it and the rest of it was just rigging and getting organized, totally cleaning out my truck, just getting totally prepared to expend every bit of my energy to getting to those fish I'd caught in those two different places, and not knowing what was going to happen downstream. I did not know really fully what was going to happen. And then that's where this tournament story gets pretty cool, really, because it didn't happen for a long time. And I was, very nervous.
Before we get into that, we'll hold some suspense here for those people, but I see a piece of podcasting royalty in the background here. And what's up, Mr. Scott Butcher?
Podcasting royalty? What?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I ain't done a podcast in like a year.
Yeah, that's why it's royalty. It doesn't count when you're still doing it. We'd all make fun of you, but you've kind of disappeared, so I'll be nice to you. But what's up, dude? What's going on?
I haven't disappeared at all, man. I'm working hard every single day in this space, man. I'm just not yapping my gums anymore as hardcore as I was 3-4 times a week on everywhere. But Drew can attest. I'm working very hard in the space, man. So
and this video for that, my friend, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me, that you're putting the hours in getting this video finished up for the release, which will, by the time everybody listens to this, which will be, hopefully you'll have watched it and then listened to us and then watched it.
Hopefully it's the facts. Yeah, hopefully you will have. No, man, it's been good, man. Anytime you get guys that carry a lot of expertise in their fields. With what James, the owner of Crescent, does, in the rotomolding industry, and his knowledge of hull design and some of that stuff, and then you take all of the knowledge that Drew has, and to be honest with you, like, I'll put it bluntly, to be able to process the knowledge that Drew has, and then like make it where it works, because we watched all the podcasts with Drew. We all if you spend any time around Drew. It's fireworks, right? And it's hard to pay attention to every one of them. Well, what James, I think, did such a phenomenal job was I don't know the number of months that it took, but I mean, it was 8 or 9 months that they were constantly on the phone in conversation, and to take that and then go, okay, well, this is how you can take that firework and make it apply. And so really, like, it kind of was a perfect storm of those two guys coming together and building the Shoalie. And, I've known James and Drew now for a long time. I was one of the few that kind of was in their ears years back trying to, hey, y'all might work well together, Yep. And
tell them the story when I was on the phone with you, or was I on the phone with James? And you stopped the red light.
You were on the phone with me. Yeah. And we were talking about James, and I pulled up next to him at the red light. Me and James live in the same town.
And I wasn't working there. I'm not with Crescent. I'm just considering this.
Yeah,
move.
No.
And I'm on the phone with you.
You were still very much with your previous manufacturer. And we were talking, and you were asking me about James, and you were doing your due diligence and doing your research, and James had already asked me about you. And I was on the phone talking to you because James had asked, and I was telling you that James had asked. And I literally pull up, and there's James sitting next to me. And I was like, and it's been, since you kind of came into the fold, it's been really kind of, it's been the Drew effect. You know what I mean? Like, everything just, takes off, and it's been good, man. So, but I think this Shoalie, and I mean, it's already a proven winner. He just won on Smith Lake with it. So, what kind of better press can you get than that right there?
That's what we said at the beginning. I was like, man, I don't know. Like, it's almost like you paid it off. Like, hey, guys, look, I need all y'all to leave it alone. I need this win. But we all know that's not how it happened, man. This man went out there and smacked them for it. And it's like the best press for sure. I thought, like, for sure. I was wondering, I was glad when you posted your picture and confirmed that, because I would have just assumed you'd have done it in, the CK1 or the ultralight or something like that. Because that's when everybody hit me up and was like, Drew won. And I was like, cool. Bet it wasn't in the new boat. And then I saw the picture. I was like, oh, heck yeah. Perfect timing. Like,
Yeah.
Really the only boat that's out, in the public eye, and it really wasn't in the public eye then. I think, as a matter of fact, there were several folks on some of our owners groups and stuff that when you first started posting on Tourney X, they went and grabbed those because of the way that the catch board is designed in the hole. There were several folks that were, just like, I think that's an innovation in the space, that they took on into this hole. And there were several folks that were shocked to see that, and shocked to kind of see that, and again, just, I think the unique minds of these guys deciding like, hey, how can we help anglers be better in tournaments or be better, period. And when you put that fish down in the hole, recessed into the board where it just kind of lives there and you're not fumbling around with that catch board and doing stuff like this, I think that it just lives there, whether you're standing, sitting, paddling, pulling, whatever, to have that fish safe down in the bottom of the boat. It just, every angler that's listening to the podcast can attest to, to having that, the fear of the flop. That's a real fear.
Yeah.
oh, yeah. And it's going to happen.
You have nightmares.
So to be able to kind of to howl some of that and to bring a little bit more control to the bottom of your boat, it's just another another phenomenal, I think, home run. I can't wait to see, like, we've known what this boat is now for months, building up this. The public still, as we record this right now, the public still hasn't really put their hands on it. And realistically, I think we're probably 30, 45 days out from really getting honest feedback from the consumer, from guys actually getting the month in the boat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm excited to kind of see not only what they rave about, but I'm excited to see what they don't like. I'm excited to see, you know what I mean?
What they change, modifications.
What are things that they think that we missed or that we could have improved. Like, I think you learn nothing from success. I think you got to have some of the failure. And in that, like, I think that there's always feedback on every boat that's ever existed. That's ever debuted, whether it's, $100,000 Skeeter, you know what I mean? Or $1,000 kayak. There's always something to improve on.
Well, and we always say with everything, no kayak's perfect for everybody. What all these features that make sense to us and to Drew and to you, somebody may look at it and be like, it's too much crap. There's too much flash. Well, I don't know, but I think it's gonna be a big hit.
I will tell you this: for as much as Drew wins and does in that ultralight, I love Drew. As Drew sits on my back porch in my house right now,
yeah,
Drew can sit in an ultralight in ways I never will be able to. I'm just a bigger human than Drew.
I've got in one time and it did not agree with me.
Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal boat for that application. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, I can't. I'm 2-3 hours in it. Like, but Drew can lower it off a bridge and be gone all day and win a tournament. Like, I've watched him do it.
Yeah, I love that boat, dude. I love it.
Yeah. So I think that it takes all kinds, and I think that what Crescent had already built in the paddling and the performance of the industry to what Drew is now coming in and adding with the SF side, the specialized fishing, which is what the SF is, behind the Shoalie. When it's Shoalie SF, that is the new specialized fishing department that Drew is ultimately, heading up. And I think that when you take that and you add the paddling performance to what our line already had, it's got to be a home run. I just don't.
It's gonna be a winner.
There's gonna be naysayers and this, that, whatever. But you know what? There's already hardware sitting on the back deck right now. So naysay all year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to take, the haters make you famous. That's the saying. You still need it, and you'll still get some, and people, probably won't like it just because it's Drew. Because some people will. I don't know. I don't feel like how anybody could actually ever dislike Drew though. Because you talk to him for 5 minutes, like you said, and any conversation starts firing off, and he's relatable.
Jimmy, let me tell you how you don't like Drew. This is how you don't like Drew. You go film Drew for 4 days on the river and watch him hook set after hook set, and you are stuck with a camera in your hand. You will then learn to hate Drew.
I can feel that. Yeah,
I've got several selfies of me just crying that I sent Christina, who, if you guys don't know, Drew's wife is my best friend. We're BFF for life.
Right.
But I would send her selfies of me like almost in tears, and Drew just with a 19-inch Shoalie, just killing it, smiling ear to ear. And I wanted to drown Drew in that creek a couple times.
Sorry, I
hey,
shot a hole in that boat.
No, yeah. I will say this though, like you're saying, Scott, the marriage, if you will, with me coming to Crescent was so perfect because, like you said, James is incredible with the owner, who's a hands-on owner. He designed all the other boats. He is, rotomolding expert. He understands all of it. He grew up in that family. He's the most hands-on owner by far, probably than any of them. There's some other guys that are really good, like Blake at New Canoe. I mean, there's a lot of owners that people know they're the owner, and they're also very much involved in the day-to-day. But James is one of them, and to me, that was like, all right, how is this going to work? But what was cool is he's not. He likes fishing, definitely, but he's not like, an expert fisherman or anything. He's a paddler. He's a kayak guy. He's a paddler. Whole performance, high. What's the word? High end kind of. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm talking about the rec market. That high performance rec, is that the term?
Yeah,
I don't know, but anyway,
performance
rec market. Like, he's really good at a lot of that stuff, but fishing is not like his main thing. So it's kind of like he needed a Drew and I needed a James. You know what I mean? Like, I needed Crescent, he needed me to really kind of fit, and then he needed to because he's so hands on, just basically. I hate to say it, but dude, like, you got to just blindly believe me. When I'm telling you we need this feature, this has got to be in here. You got to trust me. Just let me do it. If you can work with me here in one time, when this boat comes out, I promise you you'll understand why there's a method to all the madness of everything I'm doing in this kayak. And he trusted me, and he believed me. There's a few things that we, battled on a little bit. And I'm quite frankly, hindsight, I'm kind of glad that he pushed hard and some of those things didn't come to fruition, because I now agree. You know what I mean? Like, he fought for things that he really believed in that shouldn't be on it or should or whatever. And I did the same, and it came out, mostly, pretty much everything I wanted on the boat is what you see. I mean, there's not a lot that they got nixed or we couldn't do because of cost. There's a lot of things that go into it. It's not just, there's a lot on the manufacturing side, and to be able to sell it at a proper price point, you can't just do everything you want to do because of that. And I won't get into the weeds on all that. I'm going to be on Brad's podcast and talking about, what's the name of his podcast again, by the way?
Final Cast. For everybody listening, we're going to get a full rundown on the Final Cast with Brad and Matt.
Well, talking about being such a hands-on type of ownership, as James walks in the office right now, getting ready to help me wrap up this video here.
We got the whole crew in here, man.
Yeah, you got the whole crew. So it really is one of those things where, like, and I tell James this all the time. Like, there's very few men that I follow in my life. You know what I mean? Where you're actually following another. Like, I've always kind of done my thing. And I tell you what, like, it really has been a perfect storm and a perfect culmination of Drew and James kind of coming together to really, to take this boat from the ground up and really launch this as their baby. And I'm telling you, like, I'm excited to see. I haven't been this excited. Don't get me wrong. I love the CK1. The crew is the boat that kind of brought me to James. Everybody knows I was a big time bona fide guy. And when we sat in this office and he kind of laid out, the ideas of the crew and where it was kind of going. And then he brought me one of the first ones off the line for us to go shoot product and stuff with. And y'all know my story with Luther. Like, Luther's one of my best friends in the world. I love him to death. And I called him, about a week after getting the crew in my garage. And I said, hey, the more you learn and the better the better of an angler, the better of a paddler, the more I understood the sport, the more I realized that I needed that paddling performance to be the type of angler I wanted to be. And not only that, I wanted that hole and I wanted that boat to be able to carry the gear. I
was about to say, for you, God knows how much camera gear you're carrying.
100%. I'm never going to compete with Drew in a tournament. Like, I held that trophy today because I'm never going to hold one of those trophies. Let's just be honest. I got selfies of me kissing it at my kitchen table. But like, the flip side of that, it's one of those things where, like, the right boat for me and having that quiver, right, having that arrow in the quiver was what became the crew. And then we did the CK, and now we're on to the Shoalie, and his brain is already running, and I've already getting to hear the ideas of the next boat. And talking ideas of the next boat. And so, like, it's really a perfect storm, and I cannot wait to see what everyone comes back to now that James and Drew have kind of birthed this baby. I'm excited about what the next 50, 60, 70 days as guys get this boat, get to spend some time with it out on the lakes and out in the rivers, and in the creek beds. And I'm excited to see what we've been seeing now for the last year kind of coming to fruition. I'm excited for other anglers to get their hands on this boat, because I'm telling you right now, it's a home run, and I cannot wait.
We can't either, and again, like, as we're recording this, like, I wish so bad I could see that video, which it doesn't exist yet because I'm holding you up from finishing it. But
well, Jimmy, man, we're gonna go finish it, dude. I tell you what, man, hit me up sometime. I'd love to jump on a podcast with you. I don't want to interrupt Drew's time, but you know me, dude. I'm a talker, man. We could share some beard tips too.
Oh yeah.
So, let me know, bro. Just because I'm not running a podcast anymore doesn't mean that I'm not staying and plugged in the industry. I talk to everybody all the time. I love this space. I've been saying it since the day I walked into this industry. I am just that drunk girl outside the bar that just wants to talk about something I love so much. I love kayak fishing, and just about every single human in it. I think the greatest people in the world spend their free time in these little plastic boats. And so, I mean, just because you hadn't seen me on a podcast from my mouth, Jimmy, doesn't mean I'm paying attention and not keeping up with what's going on, man.
Oh no, we everybody knows that you've just kind of, I don't want to say like on to bigger and better things, but we know you're working in the background.
Yeah,
I'm just giving you a little shit just because you used to be like, when I first got into podcasting, Westbrook was the one that I paid attention to. And then when we got into it, I always joke around, be like, "Yeah, we just got a little better than Scott's. He just kind of disappeaared." But that is not true, dude. It's not true at all.
Man, y'all did it so well. The industry didn't even need me anymore, bro.
Oh, that's right.
So it's one of those things, man. You guys are doing a great job over at Paddle and Fin, man. I think the whole team is pretty awesome. I tune into some shows. I get in there and comment sometimes and watch, but I pay attention, man. I know what's going on in the industry. I got my finger on the pulse, and I'm very, very thankful to have guys like these guys around me supporting my vision and my dream. And and above all of that, the thing me and Jeff Little talked about last week was like I chased, everybody knows my story, I'm not going to dive into that, but I chased this industry for so long in order to get to a spot where I could provide for my family in this industry. I knew there was something here, and thanks to this guy and these guys, I have that opportunity now, and I focused some of my energy into being a better dad and being a better husband. And at the end of the day, that's really the big goal. And then below that, I think continuing to make, the kayak fishing world what I want it to be and tell as many people as I can. That's right below that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
And so I think that should be everybody's goal.
For sure, dude.
Yeah, I agree.
You're one of the biggest, dude. You're one of the biggest winners I know, because you've done exactly that. Like, you got the most incredible family here, incredible kids. I mean, I brought my family over here, and you guys, you took your time out of, you got this video, you got to finish editing. You're going to be up till God knows when. Yeah. So, I mean, dude, you're the biggest winner ever, dude. You got an amazing family, amazing kids. They're so nice and so good with my son. I mean, and your place is incredible. I mean, you're a winner, and that's more important, dude, than this stuff right here. And that's why, I don't really fish as much either, because I want to spend time with the family. I see people see me on these podcasts, but I don't. It's like once a month, every once in a while I have a couple more, but I'll fish about 12, 13 of these, and that's it. Because I'm some people obviously do more and they have a different situation, and they should do more if they're, young and single. I'd be fishing 25 too, but it's not more important to me. Like, you be home
older, man. Your priority a little bit as you get a little older. You get a little gray in the beard.
Get wise.
Your priorities shift a little bit.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, Drew, and I'm gonna say this little jab in the heart, and then I'll let you guys go. But holding that trophy tonight and kissing that, bro, is nowhere near as cool for me as getting to hold your daughter and you can give her a kiss, man. That's family. That's extended of my family, and I'm so glad that we got to do that with you guys. And tomorrow night we can do it at the Crescent Shop, and and really show this Shoalie to the world, man. So I'm stoked. Jimmy, man, hit me up. Drew,
sure, dude.
Stop in to see us on your way out of our
James is in the background. We look forward to having you on too, dude. But I can see him back there, like, looking at his watch, like, time is money, and I'm still paying this dude, so shut up.
James is like, I'll say it in front of him. I don't even care. Call it brown nose if you want to with the boss, but you're not gonna get. It's just right. Like, what he's managed to do. He hasn't rushed anything. He's kind of let things fall how they have. And I tell you what the angler doesn't understand is how complicated the backside of the industry is. I thought I was in the industry, a couple years back. And I remember James one time in this office told me, he's like, you're really getting into the industry, coming to work. And I was like, I was a little offended. I was like, James, I'm in the industry, been in the industry. But when you're there and you see the time and the effort and the hours that these guys put in, I joke all the time about we talked about it tonight at dinner with your family. Like I'm proud to be one of the hardest working humans I know. Well, I tell you what, these guys right here match me, and that's why I travel with them. You know what I mean? Westbrook Sublico Fletch says it best all the time. You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go in a group. This is my group.
Hell yeah. I love that.
Right on. All right.
Well,
good
dude,
job
it's
on the
good to
video.
have you, man. And
Later, fellas.
I can't wait to see the video, dude. You gotta have to send it to me when you get finished.
Totally,
little sneak peek here at 4 a.m.
Later, fellas.
Later, dude.
See you, buddy.
All right. Well, we'll get back on task here, but that was I'll say much needed, man. I miss getting to talk to Scott, and always a great conversation. And you can tell y'all are all a family, man. And I love that feeling of brotherhood and stuff, dude.
Every aspect, dude. Every aspect. I mean, from the high times, the low times, the bickering, the arguing. Oh, we have it all.
Fight like family.
At the end of the day, we're all on the same page, the ultimate goal, and we, get over it, make up, whatever, you know what I mean, and move on.
Yeah.
But the way you should, so it's pretty cool.
Well, all right, dude, that was awesome. But let's get back into Lewis Smith Lake. Hopefully nobody's forgotten already. We've hit through pre-fishing. Seemed pretty good. Checked a few spots, caught a couple good fish, made sure you could hit the water. Didn't even really have to put the boat in if you didn't want to, but take us into tournament day. 1 day tournament for everybody that doesn't know the Bassmaster. Some of them are 2, some of them are 1. This one was a single.
Yep. So, I'm fishing my way down at the first spot and just wasn't getting any big fish. I mean, it just wasn't happening. You know what I mean? Like small ones, dinks, just was not happening at that spot. And I'm like, well, of course, I roll up and catch a big one from the bank, and then tournament day that happened to be the one, big fish there, just was not happening. Catching small ones, but nothing big. Maybe 14, 15 inches, a couple that were 15, nothing. So I had a limit, but I decided, real quick, I'm just going to upload since I had signal and I was driving to the other spot around 9. I wanted to give myself until about 9 o'clock at that first place. And I did miss one big one, a largemouth further, right there where the creek meets the lake, where you'd expect it, some little bit more stained water, some flooded, buckbrush, stuff like that. I did miss a big one there. I say big, but I mean, it was big for that lake. You know what I mean? Probably.
And big for what you'd probably been catching. So
17, 18 inches. Yeah. So there was definitely some potential there, but it was not what I thought. And that's okay, because the second spot I went to, I knew it was kind of a shorter little section. And so if I started there, I was going to run out of water and have a long way back, as well to take out. So I said, just to give myself enough water to continue to fish all day long and not have nowhere else to go, I wanted to fish that first spot. Plus I did catch a good one there. This is the spot where I caught one that was almost 17. The second pre-fishing spot that I found. So it made sense. It just didn't work out. Sometimes it happens. Didn't work out. Whether your fish move or for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. So I got out of there. My timing was perfect. I got to the next spot, 9:45-ish, I guess. And so I still had plenty of day left. Put in, and man, it was a weird bite. And everybody at the results was saying the exact same thing. Except for second place angler, who was pretty cool. And I'm blanking on his name right now. So
Chris Hartman.
Chris Hartman. Chris was he had a cool story about it being his would have been his 28th anniversary with his wife, who passed away last year. And man, he's the only one who said they didn't get off. He fished so clean. I was like, that's the weirdest thing ever, man, because dude, every one of us there were like, they were hitting real weird. They would just, I don't know if it was, they were just hitting it so hard that they just blast the spinner bait away and don't get hooked, or what, or if they were just short striking, if that's, the opposite of that, which is they just kind of nip at it,
Yeah.
I could not get hooked up, man. I mean, I was catching fish, but nothing big at this next spot, but I could not get hooked up with anything big. Like, things were just not going my way. Okay. Because the water's super clear. And I mean, I'm fishing this beautiful water and it looks like there should just be good ones everywhere. And I would see some, whether I'd spook them or my cast would get hung up on the rock or the log, and I'd go over there to get it. And I knew it was a good looking area. And of course I see big ones swimming away, not like a giant, but the good ones, like 16 inchers again. I'm like, dang it, man, I need these fish. I got like 12, 13 inchers on my stringer still from that first place. And I just kept, what it is, man. You fish skinny water, there's only a one alpha per however long, you know what I mean, half mile or whatever. And you only have one shot to catch that alpha. You know what I mean? Like,
that's something I don't think people take into account when they talk about, a lot of people say you're going to catch stupid fish. I hear that all the time from people that are like for the boundaries to kind of take the creek, the getting way up creeks out. But that is the biggest point, is like, it's not that I'm going to a 10 by 10 pocket that's got 5 10-pounders in it.
No.
Like you said, there is one alpha, which doesn't mean he's 20. He might be 16 and bigger than everything there. And then that's his section for, like you said, it could be 20 yards, 50 yards. It could be the next 3 sets of rapids or riffles. Like, it is not easy, because you have to move around so much, and blown opportunities with missed bites, or they see you, which is something I've always wanted to, that I've actually never asked you, is like how stealthy you approach some of this. Some guys get super stealthy. So I'm like, my approach is like, I make giant long casts, which can be terrible, but there's so many little factors that come into play fishing that kind of area. So sorry to interrupt, but that,
dude, 100%. That was
you nailed that, dude. Like,
great interruption.
That's the thing.
I mean, first of all, you're right. Long cast is what I had to do, and I stayed seated. I did not stand. I didn't want to stand because the water was so clear and so low. I mean, 2 foot, deep. That was like, I mean, there were some holes that were a lot deeper that I got to, obviously, that, but the biggest, more gar were in those big deep holes, not the bass. And bass just didn't really want to be around all those gar. So anyway, staying seated and long casts were very helpful. But here's the other thing, to think about. The if in this kind of style of fishing, the other thing that's scary is if anybody else ever shows up to that same access point, everybody's done for. I mean, sometimes some of these creeks, there's just only so many alphas, like I'm saying. And here's the other thing: you hook up with a fish that sometimes when it gets low like this, they kind of get sucked down to certain places in the creek or river, and you hook one, and it's a 14 incher, 12 incher, and you got 3 or 4 with it. Sometimes the alpha is following it, and it's a 17, 18, maybe 16, 17, 18 inch fish. You're not catching it. You just pulled them all to the kayak. They see you. It's crystal clear. Over. So that happened a couple of times. Between getting hung up or catching a fish, and then, I mean, the whole trip, the whole amount of miles I went. I mean, I don't think there was a ton of fish that would have allowed me to win this thing. And it just happened to be, I made a ton of mistakes. I didn't get them, but sort of towards the end of my trip, it's 1:30. I mean, I caught a couple largemouth that were decent, 16, like 16 and a quarter. Maybe one of them was 16 and a half. I can't remember. They're right around 16, a little over. So I had those two paired with a couple 15s from previous, and another one in this creek that was around probably 15, probably like an Alabama bass. It was around 15 or so. And so I have a decent, like 80 inches or whatever it is. I've got, somewhere around 80 or not quite 80, I guess, high 70s, but it's nothing like nothing's going to win. It's nothing special at all. I'm already just feeling like, I guess it's just not going to happen. It's not my time, whatever, no big deal, but I'm never going to give up. So I'm still slinging because I've seen some good ones.
This new boat.
Yeah, I know, right? So I just, at 1:30, man, a little bit before that, I said, I'm just going, because I couldn't, they were missing all the baits. I mean, the chatterbait they would miss, the spinnerbait they would miss. I come see it, hit it, miss it, or they get on and they get off. It was just the weirdest thing ever. I lost way more fish, and that hardly ever happens, way more bites than I caught. I mean, it's so extreme. It's usually the complete opposite proportion. Right. And I was so frustrated. I mean, so frustrated. And then all of a sudden, I get to this one point around maybe 1 o'clock. Lines out is at 2:30. And at one point I just said, you know what, forget it. Even though they've been knocking the whopper plopper up, these small ones, and belly just hitting it and it pops up in the air, not getting hooked. They're not hitting anything else anyway, any better. I'm just gonna lock this whopper plopper in my hand and just call up hopefully the biggest dang fish. At this point, there's nothing else to do but just try that. So even if they miss it, maybe I get lucky and throw a follow up and they'll hit it. Nothing else is working. What do I have to lose? So I did that, and I got some GoPro footage I'll probably show, but it was the coolest thing ever, man. There's some push water, before it goes down like a little riffle and narrows up. And this orca looking just missile, this wake, just bulging wake is just going for about 10 to 12 feet away. And I see it coming, and you can see me on the GoPro. I'm saying, oh my gosh. Like, I know what's about to happen. And it just sounds like a bowling ball. I mean, the audio really sounds like a bowling ball. I've never had a fish hit that sounded like a just thud, like a deep just thump. And it crushed it. And it was this 19.25-inch largemouth. She had one hook barely in, one hook barely in the back of her, right in the edge of her mouth. And you see me on the video, I say that, and I'm just like, oh God, she's only got one hook in. I'm like, please stay on. And I start doing the weave back and forth to try to get another hook in her,
Yeah.
And I did. It worked. I mean, I got another hook in her by completely changing her direction opposite, trying to snag that other hook in. And once I get that second hook in, usually it's on the meat, under the belly and the meat, so that stays. And she stayed on, and I, belly landed her, and 19.25, 4.5 probably pound, very healthy largemouth.
Nice.
At least somewhere between 4.5. And so that was the start. I said, now, we're getting somewhere. And if they're going to, I got time. I was like, I got time. I just knock off a couple more fish. And then proceeded to catch my next one was a 19.75-inch Alabama bass. And the same thing happened. The exact same thing. I throw my bait, and I see it. And this one comes from even further away. It's literally tracking from like 25 feet and waking it just the whole time fast, just moving, because it came from a long way away. Because in these creeks, those long casts, like you said, when it's super shallow, their feeding window is so far in distance.
Oh yeah.
And it tracked it the whole way. And the same thing. I'm talking to myself, the camera, whoever I'm talking to. I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I see what's about to happen. I'm like, please eat it. And she comes up and crushes it. Actually hits it twice again and gets hooked. And she was hooked real good. And I just kind of boat flipped her in pretty quick. And 19.75, I had no clue it was that long. And I'm like, okay, now we're talking, dude. I've got a 19.25, a 19.75 to go along with those 2 16s and a 15. And I'm like, dude. So anyway, then I catch a 17.25, I believe, 17.25.
Yep.
And like a 16.75 and a 16.5. And I've replaced my entire limit in about 40 minutes. All of it.
Jesus.
The exact spot on all the pre-fishing map study, everywhere, the exact couple places, stretch of this area, I thought that all the biggest fish in that lake would be. And that's exactly
all on top water.
Yeah, all on top water.
Oh, see, and you just
well, maybe one of them I actually threw back that missed the top water, and I threw back with the chatterbait Mini Max. The new Mini Max is so good in that low clear
I just
water.
picked some of those up.
It was
they look so
good in that kind of bluegill pattern.
Yeah.
With the little green pumpkin diesel minnow. It was so clutch, and they were hitting that pretty good too, but they were still missing it a lot. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I had to go to that big profile and just hope they would get hooked. And I changed the hooks the night before, and they stuck. So it just worked out, man. I've replaced it all. And that's why I'm still in shock now, because it's one thing to win once, and then your next tournament out, which I haven't fished since Grand Lake, win again. It's another thing to have that happen in a brand new kayak that you designed. I mean, if God didn't have his hand in this, I'm telling you, man, Jimmy, I'm a man of faith, dude. And I believe when it's your time, it's your time. And for some reason that the Lord just wanted me to win this one as well. And dude, I'm just super humble because I don't know, man. I don't know.
The story kind of helped point that, man. It was like it wasn't meant to. It didn't seem for you in the moment. It didn't seem like it was gonna happen, like you said. And then
I still feel like I didn't. Yeah, I still feel like I didn't win.
Even if it was just that hand coming down and being like, "No, here, dummy. Like, this is it." There's divine intervention.
It was crazy, man. It's just crazy. I can't even explain it. I just feel like I didn't win still, because I felt defeated the entire day with how many fish I lost, how small a fish they were, and I didn't really see enough fish in there that were even big enough to really win. I mean, I just can't believe it still, dude. I'm in shock. So I don't know.
No, man.
That's pretty much the story.
And we haven't said it enough. You just mentioned it, though. This is back-to-back. Back-to-back Bassmaster, same series. We were talking before the show. There's been some back-to-back winners in opposing series. I don't say opposing. That sounds terrible. But in other series. So you've had Guillermo, KBF NC, KBF Trail Day 1, Kissimmee. Right. Russ is, I couldn't even tell you what his was, but I know he's done it.
Hobie to KBF.
I think so, yeah.
Or maybe it might have been a bass. It might have been a bass and a Hobie. Because he won. He won.
I think it was
because
because I think it was the Bass at Clear Lake the first year Bass ran that trail, because I remember he went back to
Maybe.
Cali and smacked everybody around.
Yeah,
that's great. We had those guys on the show like 2 weeks ago, and it's funny that they brought it up that they thought that he had been out of California long enough that he wouldn't remember how to fish Clear Lake, and then he just gapped everybody by like 6 or 7 inches. But go back and check that episode out.
yeah, dude's a hammer, man. Hammer.
Yeah.
I mean, Russ is freaking. There's
can't ever count him out,
he's
man.
one of the guys, dude. I'm just always blown away by how consistent he is as well. I know people say that about me too, but I'm telling you, I don't feel it as much as people say it, because you guys see what I'm saying. Like, I had nothing at 130. I mean, nothing that would have put, like, I might have been 25th. I had nothing. So I felt defeated. Like, it wasn't. And if I miss one of those fish, we're not talking. You know what I mean? We're not even close to talking. Even one, it's a big difference between a 19 3/4 and having a 15 on your stringer. You know, it's a huge difference there.
Oh no!
But
40 minutes completely replacing a stringer that's nuts, and it's a thing that doesn't happen too terribly often. But then at the same time, you do get to hear about some really cool stories like that. When I was waiting for you to get on, I was watching one again from a West Coast guy, Dominic Doan, triple digit bass, and he won. I think it was a local out there, same way, last 30 minutes, dude. It's awesome when the pieces come together. And I still think, like we joked around when Scott was on, this is probably the best possible marketing piece you have for this new boat that we're about to talk about just for a second, that you probably didn't expect to have, but now you have it. So like, hey, new slogan.
That's right, man. That's true. It's been crazy. I mean, between the podcast requests for the boat, the Shoalie and the win, I can't really keep up with anything right now. And then like trying to spend time with my family after being away for the whole tournament. I mean, that's like what we were talking about. What's most important to me. It's been very challenging, to say the least, man. Like trying to juggle all this, and it's a good problem. So I'm not complaining. And I only hope that my story gives people hope. It's not like, again, I just feel super fortunate to land on those fish at the very last minute. I just hope it gives people hope that like, man, I just feel like they probably see, oh, Drew won again. It must have been easy. You know what I mean? Like, dude, Grand Lake was not easy. This was not easy. And it never is easy, but I can see how it can look easy. At the end of the day, when you see the results, and you see who wins, and they win a lot, it's like, it must have been easy. No, it's not easy. I hope
it's never easy. Just like in the boat world, there are so many names, so many hammers that fish these events. And even at this event, Siddiqui's been on a hell of a year. Siddiqui was in this tournament. Brad Case is in this tournament. There's names that I recognize on here that are Smith Lake hammers that people don't even know about on the national scene. John Lessman was there. John, you can never count John Lessman out. Like, it's not easy. Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, Lessman got 6th. Like, he's a hammer.
Justin Largent, who's becoming a name now, especially on this Bassmaster side, but fished some other stuff as well. I mean, he's a hammer. We're starting to see. And then Tim Perkins, dude, Alabama hammer. Perkins. I mean, he got 3rd. You can't count out like so many of these guys. There was some real talent there. Mark Edwards was there. He's been killing it this year. Like you said, Siddiqui. I mean, it's
for anybody that says it was easy, sign up and come beat Drew in one of these tournaments.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
do like Catherine Fields does. Don't worry about winning the check. She just wanted to beat Drew.
Yeah, that's right.
So I said that we'd get into the new boat just a little bit. I have one last question.
Yeah, man.
Before we get into that, and you can answer this or you don't have to, but everybody knows, you used to work with Jackson. You've done so many ventures, different ways of making a living in this industry. A lot of people know your situation with Crescent. You didn't really, I mean, you've been with the company, but until your boat came out, that's when that really takes off. Now that this is happening, and this boat, I guarantee is going to be a hit. They're going to be hard to find in no time. I guarantee it. Anytime a new boat comes out, even if it's absolutely crap, everybody buys it to try it. This is going to be a situation where everybody's going to buy them, and they're not going to be on the used market. I guarantee you. Yeah. I don't see a lot of these moving around like that. With this side of things opening kind of back up for you officially, and this makes Crescent keep moving forward and things of that nature. Do you think you see yourself backing out of the tournament scene a little bit in the future? Maybe like hard year, maybe this year, next year, and then focus more on the other parts of the industry? Or do you think you'll just kind of keep doing both?
No, I mean, I'll definitely keep doing both, but if anything's going to cause me to back out, it's not Crescent and the kayaks. It's just wanting to spend more time with my family. I miss them like crazy when I'm gone.
Right.
I mean, I do.
Well, and that's kind of where I went with this question too. Not necessarily just like go into one thing or the other, but like this, in my opinion, like you've been grinding out to make a living any way you can. Right. Now this takes off, leads to even bigger, better things. Maybe you don't have to try and have an income from fishing. Now you can spend more time with your family, like Scott's talking about too. Like, do you see that happening where maybe you're able to take that little bit step back? Or
I can see something like that happening where, okay, this year I'm doing something crazy, even though it doesn't appear it yet. I'll tell you this, guys. Every year I shoot for, okay, which events do I want to fish? I look at the whole schedule. Can I pull off an AOY run in potentially all three? And that was my goal. Bass, I knew I had to miss Lake Fork because my little girl was 2 months old. I wasn't going to leave my wife with a toddler, a 2-month-old, and 3 dogs and just leave her for, a trip to Lake Fork. I lucked out because it was freezing cold. It was like frozen, the lake was. So
yeah, you didn't miss anything.
Didn't miss anything. But I knew that the way they had their setup, you had to fish 4 events to count for your AOY, and they only had 5. So at that point, and I was qualified for the championship, so I knew I was going to fish the championship in South Carolina. So, but that doesn't count for AOY points. So I said, okay, I got to fish. So essentially, I got to fish, 5 bass, but really, 4 in the opens, all 4 of them to be able to qualify for AOY. But I said, I want to qualify for the championship. You do that by AOY points, potentially if you don't get in the top 10% at each event. Now, of course, the first event I fished, I got 7th at Harris Chain and I qualified. So the championship qualification for 2023 was out, was already good. I was done. I don't really need to fish bass anymore, but I wanted to make an AOY run and I had 7th. So why stop now? Right. So then I went to Grand. I get first at Grand. Okay. I'm going to keep going, go to this Lewis Smith Lake at first. Obviously my goal is to win AOY in bass, and obviously if I do well at Pickwick, the standings don't show it because I don't have 4 events and everybody else does, but I think I'm probably in like 7th, 8th, or 9th, somewhere around there. And I only have 3 events. So, I don't know who's in front right now, actually, if it's Garrett or Justin or whoever, but it's not me. And that's kind of cool because they have the pressure hopefully is on them more and the focus is on them. But really, I know, and they know, we all kind of know, we're not dumb. Eric Sadiki's got some great finishes there. That I'm kind of early in the driver's seat in terms of that series of, it's kind of my AOY to lose. I have to kind of.
I was about to say that I hate to say that because I don't mean it in a bad luck way, but that's how you put it. It's yours to lose.
Yeah,
100%.
2 1s and a 7 is pretty darn tough to beat. So that was the goal, and then I said, well, how can I? Because I won AOY with Hobie in 2020, fishing the minimum 3 tournaments and then the TOC. Right, that's all I did. I said, well, it's possible. So if I can do maybe like 5 Hobies, because you only get your best 3, maybe I can. So 5 plus the 5 for bass, that's already 10. That's a lot of weekends gone from the family. Weeks. Not weekends. That's a week. That's at least a week for every trip, right? But okay, so that's 10 events. How can I possibly get enough KBFs? Because they have 2 per weekend, not in the Pro Series, but the Trail Series is Saturday, Sunday. I was like, well, I could do Champlain. So anyway, I figured out that whole thing where I could potentially get enough events in. And I know it's not the smartest thing to do because it's obviously better if you're fishing 7 or 8 Hobies, right, to get a good 3, or you know what I'm saying?
That way
like,
you've got some events you can drop. Yeah,
fish 6 or 7 KBFs instead of a minimum, right? But that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And I think I can, even though I had a bad Santee Cooper event at Hobie, I was 22nd out of 200 after day 1. And I made a very bad decision. See, there's another example, guys. I didn't have a good finish at Santee Cooper. It doesn't always work out. So I made a bad decision on day 2. And I don't know what I dropped to, maybe, 50th or something, 60. I don't know. But now I got to pretty much fish all the last 4 Hobies and have 3 good ones. So that's kind of my goal. But here's to get to your question, after explaining all that, maybe I drop down to just focusing on 2 series next year. You know what I'm saying? Where maybe I'm not gone 13, 14 weeks a year. And not all of them, like some tournaments like the Susquehanna, I kind of really don't need to pre-fish there much. I just kind of know what I'm doing. Go to maybe pre-fish a day, so it's not like every one of them is a whole week, and some of them are close like that when it's 4.5 hours for me. I can finagle maybe, if you do like back in the day when KBF had the Kissimmee chain to kick it off, and then your next weekend was the Hobie, you can kind of maybe knock out 2, so I think I can still pull off doing the tournaments at a pretty good clip, 12 events a year, something like that, and be in the running for the AOYs. And it's a good marketing tool, like you're saying, and credibility for Crescent, and not just Crescent. I mean, all of my sponsors, Real Tree Fishing, Z-Man, Power Pole, whatever, like you name it, any of them, Yak Attack, Bending Branches, Motor Guide, all of them. I mean, there's, fortunate to have a lot of them, right? And I can't list them all, but that's great for all of them for me to continue to do that too. So, and I enjoy it, man. That's like my time away. As much as I love my family, I miss them like crazy, because my son, you can tell how much he's soaking up everything his dad does, man. I mean, he is learning so much from me when I'm there, and we're bonding, and he's becoming just my best friend and best buddy. And it's like, it's so hard to leave him. And so maybe I'll just trim it down and focus on a couple.
Yeah.
Couple series instead of all 3, trying to do this crazy thing I'm trying to do this year. And I say it doesn't look like, I haven't fished a KBF yet. So where am I in the standings? Nowhere. Where am I in Hobie standings? Nowhere. But just wait. I'm locked in for the next three Hobies, and a lot of them are rivers. So I could flop, but I mean, hopefully I can pull off a chance to at least get in the TOC. I want to qualify for it. That's tough.
Yeah.
And
we'll
see.
Well, so good luck to you on that. But this is the part of the show that most people are probably most excited about, because held this to the end just because I didn't want people to listen and dip. So give us the whole show. We've talked about it here and there, the Shoalie. It'll be debuting when y'all are listening to this. Tell us about it. We can actually get some details from you.
Yeah, you can. This isn't gonna
we'll
air,
go
right?
in depth again. Yeah, this is airing Wednesday morning. It'll already be out, which is great, because I'm going to get a little bit of info before everybody else. So, bite me.
Yeah, great.
But yeah, we'll have a really good show on it on the final cast. Brad and Matt will knock that one out of the park with you. Maybe have James or Scott and them on too. But
yeah.
Just talk about Crescent as a whole. But give us the rundown of the new boat, man. I've got to see some teaser pics of it and stuff like that. But just tell us about it.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I mean, I fished out of it in the tournament, and I was just comfortable and happy, and like, I mean, it's my Cropterus Cataract Day. That is the fish of the waterfalls, the shoal bass. It's where I cut my teeth, what got me into kayak fishing, what started all this river bass and stuff for me, just obsessed with that fish. And it was a tribute, an honor to be able to name this fish, this kayak after that fish. And so it's uniquely beautiful and different and distinct from anything else in the market, the same way that fish is so unique and different and distinct from any other black bass. It really is. The parallels are amazing, and that was done intentionally. And the tribute to the fish goes so much further than people don't know. And like you said, you're going to get a lot of insider info here. People don't know yet, but it was, we're giving proceeds of every Shoalie sale back to the shoal bass and habitat restoration through the Flint River Keeper on this first year, and probably future years with that group as well, because they're probably one of the biggest and best at doing that. And they file lawsuits. River keepers, people don't realize how important they are. They on behalf of us, the general public, are always fighting battles to keep that river running clean and pure, and that obviously translates down to the fishery. So in the Flint River Keeper, it just really focuses hard on the shoal bass. They do, because it's the only free flowing river that's got them left, major river system, I should say. So that's exciting. And then from basically the cool things about it, some of the features I'll just touch on real quick. The front handle is a cam strap system. It's an idea I came up with, where your front handle is actually still a handle there, but it's on a gear track, and it's basically in a little channel that's a rod stager groove if you completely take off this handle. But it's about a 7-foot long strap. You think, well, that's crazy, right? But it goes between 2 of the vertical tie downs on that track that Yak Attack has, that are made for your cam straps to go through. And you can pull it as tight as you want. You can loosen it to make it hang a little bit. You can loosen the whole thing up to a big loop, so now throw it over your shoulder to tow your boat to and from the river. Strap. Yeah, exactly. You can pull the whole thing out so it becomes entire 7 foot and wrap it around your waist. use a carabiner around your belt loop, whatever you want to do to make it your wading belt in the creek or the river. It's a river fisherman's dream to have that strap. Now, the cool thing is, if you don't want it there, once you're on the water, remove it. And that's just now pure rod staging groove, or put a roto grip up there or whatever, but you can do that. And then you also can store the excess in the front hatch, which is not just an open hatch like other kayaks. It's a tank well. So the front tank well is pretty cool. You can cut it out if you wanted to, right? You wanted internal access to the boat, but we have what you need for internal access there. What I mean by that is it's got internal rod storage in that front tank well. So typically you're going to want to put, rods inside your kayak sometimes, but then they bang all around. I mean, you're transporting all that. So, that's why I decided, let's house them in these tubes internally there that go from that tank well towards the, underneath the whole kayak, inside the hole. And then there's a couple different levels in there. So you can put if you don't use it for rods or whatever, you can put your battery in there for your fish finder, which on the other side of that wall is your fish finder cubby. And it's kind of nice because it's like a flush cubby where fish finders fit in flush. So if you have a 10-inch unit or under, it'll fit in pretty darn flush or inside there. So it's nice. Nothing's sticking up in your way. And your battery can get, it's right there on the other side in that tank well, right? So it's pretty cool. And you also have an iPhone holder there for selfies or live streaming. It holds your iPhone right there, built into the kayak. You'll see that's the theme with this kayak. Everything's already built in seamlessly. So nothing's sticking up like that old board game mousetrap. Okay, my kayaks don't look like that, because in a river or a creek, you don't want that.
No,
no. Honestly, dude, even in a lake, I don't know why you'd want that. You don't see any pro bass fishermen having anything sticking up around them on their front deck. Everything's laying down. It's low. It's smooth. It's sleek. They can do the biggest looping cast, which is the best motion for a bait caster. That's the way your kayak should be, in my opinion. I mean, everyone has a different method, and it seems to work for other people, but I don't like a ton of rods sticking up. So that's why you'll notice there's some features on the boat that are, even for lake fishing, if you're going underneath dock cables and trees, if you're not taking advantage of the kayak being the kayak and can get to casting angles and under dock cables and under trees in places that boats can't get, you're honestly missing out on the whole reason you're in a kayak. So anyway, that's a lot of the stuff on the boat you'll see is built in seamlessly like that. As you move on, I'm skipping over a lot of stuff because I'm going to talk it, in detail in the other.
No.
But the catchboard that Scott mentioned is amazing. The catchboard stays housed there in front of you, or recess. There's pad kit on the whole boat. It actually has a measuring board pad kit on that area where the catchboard goes. So it quiets the catchboard, and it's a measuring board if you don't have a catchboard. If you're not a tournament angler, you just want to see the length, you can do that. And then
that's awesome.
The seat's a new extra padded seat, so it's thicker than the traditional Crescent seats that you're used to. So a couple of my most favorite things, it's got an anchor wizard recess, so only the handle of the anchor wizard sticks up. Here's the thing though, if you don't have an anchor wizard, you don't want it. If you don't have a fish finder, you don't really care about that cubby. Everything in this boat, when I say there's a recess for this, it has a secondary purpose. So it's not like, well, that's a waste of space for me because I don't use that. That's not true. The anchor wizard recess is a cup holder where the cup holders are normally at. They're just two cup holders right there on either side. So you're not missing anything. You're just gaining two cup holders instead of one. If someone has an anchor wizard and one of them, they have only one cup holder. Okay. So, and if you don't use 2 cups at a time, whatever, it's a little cubby to throw weights and hooks and whatever. It's a little circle. I mean, come on. So that's the beauty of the whole boat. If you don't have a fish finder, that cubby up there, like I said, your iPhone would go there in that little slot, or if it's a lot of the little smaller Plano boxes, it's a little cubby to store a little small soft Plano bags. You can store whatever you want in that little cubby up there. It's not detracting from anybody's style. Yeah. That's what's cool. It's options. You've got a paddle stager with the roto grip paddle holders from Yak Attack, the roto grips that come standard. And what's cool is on that one, they go across, it's where you could make it goes across the kayaks. If you're standing, it's going to go across perpendicular with the kayak. But then you can also, on the gear tracks, the gear track is actually perpendicular as well. You can move it in and twist them. And now those roto grips go parallel with the kayak. So if you want to have a rod there, a net, whatever, a paddle, you can use those that direction too. So it's super customizable like that. A couple of my coolest features are the actually right below your seat on the right and the left-hand side. You'll notice a teeny little recess that's only like an inch long, right? 1.5 inches long by 3/4 of an inch wide. It's your flat mount line cutters spot. And the other side that marries it is a hook sharpening stone that we will be selling on the Crescent website. It's a small little hook sharpening stone that you fit right there. So you always have something to cut your line. You always can sharpen your hooks and stay in the game. Because I'm also trying to help people become better anglers without them even realizing I'm helping them become a better angler. Like not just being more comfortable, and not that the hole is just great for maneuverability and great for flat water, but especially obviously really good at rivers and creeks. All these little things about the boat are can either make you more comfortable, which makes you more confident, or they help you become a better angler by remembering to sharpen those hooks. Things like that save you time. I view tournaments, and even when I'm not fishing a tournament, everything is in casts to me. Like how much time do I have on the day, or how many casts can I make? So not hours, seconds, and minutes. I view it in casts. So if you hit a rock and you flip over, or you have stuff go wrong, you're losing time, right? If you can't navigate around that. So the whole design is important. All this stuff is designed to kind of help save you time and make you a better angler without you realizing that's kind of what it's doing. So speaking of the river stuff, there's a rod butt stager in the floor. So rod butt stager is important because in waves, in a lake or in a river or rocks, you're hitting stuff. If your rods are sliding below you and your feet on the hole there, then their tips are also colliding and your lures are getting tangled. So the rod butt staging, there's a couple different grooves there for it. One of them is actually underneath your seat in the high position. The other one's right in front of that. So your rods aren't sliding around, and they're married in the rod staging grooves on the front hatch, which, by the way, the front hatch has a rod saver, the typical rod saver you see on the deck of a bass boat. We've actually have it modified from that actual company, rod saver. So it's the Velcro, folds over. So
that's awesome.
When you really want to go down a rapid, or you want to, for transport, all I did every time I wanted to move, I just put my rods right there, which they already were there because that's where I fish with them. I just threw the rod saver over them, threw it in the back of the truck, and went. That's it. I went the whole way back here, 2.5 hours to Carrollton with those rods there, just like the guys on the bass boats would do. So it's really slick. Man, there's so much about this boat. I mean, it's so hard to even remember everything. The back tank well is a cam strap. It's not bungee. You don't have to find some perfectly sized item to fit there. It's a 3/4 inch cam strap, a thinner little mini. So you crank down that black pack, or whatever you have back there, it's not going anywhere. In a river situation, you're not going to drop, flip over, and lose anything because you've got a secured cam strap cranking it down. And what's cool is there's actually compression from the lowest point of the tank well, right below the seat in the back, right behind the seat in the very back at the lowest point, and then the very back to the stern of the tank well. There's 2 security bars there. So you have compression ability from the floor. So if you have an item that's as thin as a Plano box, the thinnest one, pull your cam strap up, and it secures that whole thing. So, I mean, we've really, it's just experienced my time on the water. Yeah, man, like things that have gone wrong. How can I fix it? It's got drag chain chutes in the back. It's got a hatch on the back so if you want to put a tent, I mean, the tent and stuff will fit in the front tank well, but if you want to put more gear back there, you can. And then it's got the power pole.
I was just about to say power pole
pattern. It does, but we actually left, instead of inserts, we just made the pattern there where the holes are, so you can drill them out yourself because we have access back there with the hatch and put the nuts on.
Yeah,
that's super, super critical because boats have different shrink rates, and inserts are also weak points a lot of times as well. In kayaks, we found
I've seen them snatch right out of the plastic.
Yeah, so their holes are there. You just drill it. You have access there, so no problem. So it's a cool boat, man. All in all, I love every second of it.
I think this is a great teaser for, because maybe not everybody sees it at first, and maybe you're listening to this on your drive to work or something.
Yeah.
This will definitely make you want to go check it out. Oh, yeah.
Oh, the last thing that I forgot to mention, again, probably one of my, and I've forgot to mention a lot of things, but my favorite feature in the whole boat probably is the included right behind on either side of your hip, right and left, at a low angle going back. I've got the Yak Attack Padlock paddle holders, which are the taco style paddle holder.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the reimagined purpose for it. It's what we're calling the rod holster, the rod holster. And basically the compression of your rods, your rod butts, or it's a paddle holster. Or, not really paddle. I mean, you can be if you take your paddle apart, 2 pieces, if you're using a motor or whatever. But it's a net holster. It's so good for a net, dude. I've got the Ego net, and it compresses. And here's the beauty, see, because it's a taco style, the compression going in there holds it. And there's a bungee if you want to secure it, hardcore, but the compression holds it. Therefore, all you have to do is lift your paddle right out, scoop the fish. There's no tube you got to turn around behind you, pull it out of a tube. It's literally at your hip. And it's just the compression of that plastic that's holding it. So you just take the net and just scoop the fish, dude, right there. It's really
it's
awesome. So,
dude, I
but
can't wait
the low
can't wait to
angle,
get my hands on it.
you're gonna love it. The low angle of those rods too back there are awesome because your follow up bait for like a buzz bait or whatever you got, your follow up. If you're missing fish on a plopper, buzz bait, spook, whatever, I always have like a Z-Man streak or something right there. I'm keeping that, one of them with my net if I'm bringing a net, and one of them with that exact bait in the exact same spot every time as my follow up lure. And then the second that happens, I can whip that bait out of the zone. No, just with my eyes closed, reach down here, grab it, cast. No pulling out of some tube, difficult. It's so easy. It's awesome. The boat's incredible.
That's awesome, dude.
It really
So,
is. And it's incredible.
3 things we didn't hit: length, width, weight.
All right. It is 11 foot 10, 34, and like about, I think 77, all said and done.
Nice.
So yeah, it's awesome. It's a great boat, man. So I'm excited to see you guys in it, and the feedback's been great. So I'm pumped. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, man. I know a guy that's kind of first on the list when our shop gets them, and it's going to work out perfect for y'all. He's already sold on the Crescent brand, but North Alabama Kayak Anglers, for any of my local folks listening this weekend, which I think it's the 28th, whatever this coming Saturday is our demo day, and we usually have a ton of boats out, ton of brands, but this boat's getting picked up and going straight down there for that. So if you're going to be in the Decatur, North Alabama area and you want to check one of these out, probably before most anybody else is going to get to, because it's going to be hard to get them. A lot of shops aren't going to, probably not even, they're going to sell so fast, it's going to be hard to demo them, so.
A lot of shops have pre-sold boats already, even when we had the minute-long teaser out. Now that we've got this 3-minute promo and people have seen more of it, I know shops that have pretpretty much all their first shipment of 10 gone. So I'd call pretty soon if you're interested in this boat.
My shop, that's true. Yeah, they're gone. We're hoping that we can get some more. So, well, dude, I appreciate you giving us the time. Go hang out with the family, man. Congrats on back to back. Congrats on the big win. Congrats on the new boat. If you want to shout anybody out real quick before I let you go, anybody at all? Any sponsors?
Appreciate Bassmaster for what they do. Appreciate Hobie, KBF, all the trails that help kind of make this possible on the national scene. All American, all those guys. I mean, whoever name them, they're out there working hard for us so we can have these opportunities. And I'll never be, just appreciative enough of those guys because I've done it before, with the River Bass and Trails. So I want to thank them. And you guys can follow me if you want on social media. Definitely have a lot of sponsors, but I'm not going to mention them here. It's a lot, and whatever, you guys follow me, you'll see. But thanks again for everybody.
You need to hear them go back in another show. Yeah. We've probably got them.
Probably. Big thanks to the wife for hanging in there too. She's been awesome, and I couldn't do this without her. So,
all right, dude. Well,
great, man.
I know Paddle and Finn will see you again soon. We'll have you on all the shows, but good to see you, buddy. Peace, man.
Thanks.
Later. All right, guys. Great show. It was awesome to get Drew back on here. Missed getting to talk to him. So cool to get Scott to jump in for a few minutes and see the face behind Crescent back there, also hanging out with him, the boss man James. We're gonna get into some other tournament recap real quick from around the country that also happened this weekend. I'm gonna start with one on this other screen over here. Actually, we'll go ahead and we didn't get a whole Smith Lake rundown. So first place, as you know, from this episode, Drew won the event with 89.5. Second place, as we did say, Chris Hartman, right behind him with 89. And then the Alabama Hammer, Tim Perkins, third place with 84 3/4. KBF had another event going on this week, and I actually had to look up this one. I've never even heard of this place, but it's Messalonsky, Maine. They had 82 anglers. Everybody knows the way that the KBF does things. Day 1, Day 2 trail, and Pro Series. Day 1 winner Nick Audi with 93 1/4. Second place Ryan Matlowich with 92 3/4. Third place Robert Biffsha with 91 3/4. Second trail day, Day 2, Ryan Nye, 93 1/4. So kind of crazy. First time I've seen this, that a Day 1 and Day 2 were both won with the same length. So that's pretty cool. Second place, Mike McCone with 93. Third place, Brian Volkernick with, my light's in the way, 92 1/4. Shout out to those guys. And then the Pro Series winner was Ryan Matlowich with 185. Nick Audi was second with 184 3/4. A quarter of an inch Third place, John Tibbins with 180. All right, so we got a lot of them, so I'm going to get them as fast as I can. So we have the Great Lakes kayak fishing, Lake Geneva, 31 anglers. First place, Todd Martins, 95 3/4. Second place, Stefan Marginine with 92 3/4. Third place, Raul Gonzalez with 91.5. Next up, NACA, North Alabama Kayak Anglers, my club here, had their tournament trail on Lake Gunnersville. 58 anglers. First place, Randall Wallace, as per usual. It's just hard to beat that man and his Spro Frogs. 94 3/4. Second place, my buddy Blake Robertson, 94.5. Third place, Brandon Watson with 92.5. Next up was the 2022 Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail, Indian Lake, 50 anglers. First place, Jason Lyle, 71. Second place, Sean Skidmore with 65.5. Third place, Jason Smallwood with 47.25. And only the top 2 anglers caught limits. Next up, South Carolina Bass Nation Kayak Series, Lake Watery, 26 anglers. First place, Cameron Tedderton with 56 3/4. Second place, Chris Gant with 54. Third place, Bennett Nall with 52 3/4. And yes, that was a 3-fish tournament. Next up was the Tennessee Kayak Anglers Tournament Trail on Chick. I think that was a cast event. I'm not sure. 27 anglers. First place, John Dalton with 58 inches. Second place, Garrett Nicely with 54 3/4. Third place, Mr. Joby Berry with 54 1/4. Been hearing that name a lot out that way. Next up was the Tennessee Bass Nation event, which was also on Lake Gunnersville at the same time and was part of a triple dip with the Tennessee Valley Kayak Anglers Tournament, also on Lake Gunnersville. So 68 anglers at the Bass Nation. Randall Wallace also won that one with the 94 3/4. Second place was the Cinco Master, Josh Stewart with 93.5. Third place was Thomas Davis with 93 1/4. And I do not have those back to back, but give me just a second and I will find it. Or maybe I will not. There it is. The TVKA winners, they do a 3-fish. So first place in the 3-fish tournament was Stuart Staples. For some reason, Randall didn't dip in on that one. Don't know why, buddy. But second place, Brandon Watson with 59 3/4. Third place was Blake Robertson with 59.5. Next up was the Michigan Kayak Trail event number 2, Saginaw Bay. 83 anglers. First place, Alex Roberts with 91.5. Second place, Jarrett Bice with 91 1/4. Another 1/4 inch getting it done. Third place, Adam Drybeck with 90 3/4. Next up is the Minyak Elite Trail stop number 1 on Lake Minnetonka. 30 anglers. First place, Elvis Lee with 88. Second place, Juan Gomez with 85 1/4. And third place, Scott Stolman with 82 3/4. Next up, the Indiana Kayak Anglers on Lake James. 43 anglers with I'm going to say this is Eddie. It could be Ida. This is a female angler, so if you're listening, I'm so sorry. But Eddie Wilkinson with 80.5. Second place, Shane Partlow with 76 1/4. Third place, Brennan McDougall with 72 1/4. Next up is the New York Bass Fishing on Lake Ontario. 27 anglers. First place, Jose Vuittonnet. We're going to go with that, 82.5. Second place, Jake Burnett with 81 3/4. Third place, Benjamin Phillips with 80 1/4. Next up was the Moyak Lake of the Ozarks event. 86 anglers, Michael Cornelius with 93.5. Second place, Scott Kroger with 91. Third place, Josh Keats with 90.5. Next up's the Kayak Anglers of Eastern Pennsylvania Merrill Creek Reservoir event. 29 anglers, 3-fish limit. First place, Brooke Williams with 58 1/4. Second place, David Smith with 58. Third place, TJ Swanee with 57.5. We got the kayak fishing. Kayak Fishing Club John Martin Reservoir Bass Series in Colorado. 29 anglers. First place, Clay Roberts with 36 3/4. And this is a 5-fish limit tournament. Second place, Paul Roth with 30 3/4. And third place had 1 fish for 14 7/5. For 14 7/5, 14 3/4. Jesus Christ, Jimmy. 10 fish was all that was caught in that entire tournament. Minnesota Kayak Fishing Association High Tempo Hobie Compass Tournament, Waterville. 75 anglers. First place, Daniel Zimmershed with 88 1/4. Second place, Mong Vang with 87 3/4. Third place, Eric Peterson with 87. Next up is the Southeast Texas Kayak Bass League on the Sabine River. 44 anglers. First place, James Penny with 84 1/4. Second place, Carl Birdsong with 72 3/4. Third place, Ricky Julg with 69 3/4. Next up's the Kayak Angler Association of Central Arizona on Alamo Lake. 31 anglers. First place, Mark Gross with 85 1/4. Second place, Pat Hanning with 84. Third place, Thomas Gompf with 80 3/4. Next up, we have the Yakka Bass tournament on the California Delta. 99 anglers. First place, 5 fish limit. First place was Alden Walden, 95, one of the Dark Horse guys. Second place was Justin Dutcher with 90. And third place, the funniest guy to watch online in the kayak world, Obedy Williams with 88 1/2. Another Dark Horse guys. Those guys are just out there killing it. Next up and last but not least was the Natural State Kayak Anglers event on Table Rock. 41 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, Chris Needham with 88. Second place, Craig Wood with 88 as well. Third place, Dwayne Beatty with 87 3/4. So really tight at the top for that one. Whew, that was a mouthful, guys, but we have made it to the end. I appreciate everybody sticking with us that sticks it out to the very end, covers the tournaments, give these local guys a shout out all around the country. We appreciate you, as always, coming to join us, talk to a big national winner. And you're going to get to hear it first here. We talked about the Shoalie before anybody else is getting to, other than Crescent, and talking to Drew about the back-to-back Bassmaster wins. So great show. Make sure you're keeping up with your fantasy stuff. Go check that out. Make sure you give Drew, give Crescent, give Paddle and Fin, give me, give us all a follow. Check us all out on all of our social medias. We will be back next week. Me and Dan. I haven't looked at the schedules. I have no clue what's coming up, but we will see everybody next week. And I am out. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode here on Paddle and Fin. Be sure to drop a 5-star rating, a thumbs up, or smash that subscribe button on any platform you're listening in on. Be sure to check us out on Waypoint TV, waypointtv.com. Make sure you sign up for the Fantasy Kayak Fishing League at paddleandfin.com/fantasy. You could support this show through Patreon, patreon.com/paddleandfin. Don't forget to check out the website, paddleandfin.com. Catch us on YouTube. If you got a question, comment, or want to see a future guest on the show, be sure to email us at paddleandfin@gmail.com. Shout out to our show supporters, Yak Gadget. You can check out all the fine kayak accessories at yakgadget.com. Pelican Professional. For all your cases, coolers, and lighting needs, go to pelican.com. Rocktown Adventures, your Midwest premier paddle sports destination. Go to rocktownadventures.com. Eastport Marina, the beautiful destination on Dale Hollow Lake. If you're looking for lodging, kayaks, kayak accessories, or anything fishing related on the beautiful Dale Hollow Lake, go to eastport.info. And Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com and fill your tackle boxes today.